Vienna. The top diplomats from the United States and Russia set yards from each other at a security conference here on Thursday in Vienna and lobbed broadsides that were sharply at odds with the tone of President Trump and President Vladimir Putin's meeting last month. "We will never accept Russia's occupation and attempted annexation of Crimea," Secretary of State Rex W. Tillerson vowed in his opening remarks at the Organization for Security Cooperation in Europe. Russia is arming, leading, training and fighting alongside anti-government forces in eastern Ukraine, Mr. Tillerson added. Moments earlier, Russia's Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, gave such a rapid-fire list of grievances complaining about the growing expansion of NATO and the West's increasing limits on Russian-language journalists, for example that his interpreter could barely keep up. "We've reached an absolute low point regarding confidence between the main players," the Secretary-General of the Security Forum, Thomas Greminger, told reporters at the start of the conclave. The dueling remarks at the conference, with underpinnings of Cold War tensions, played out under the sparkling chandeliers of the Hofburg Palace as diplomats came in from a cold, grey Vienna day to ballrooms warmed by endless speeches. Whether Mr. Tillerson's tough stance on Russia is in keeping with Mr. Trump's often stated wish to improve relations with Russia is unclear. But the Secretary of State has maintained it since his confirmation hearings in January despite the order of friendship he had received from Mr. Putin when Mr. Tillerson was ExxonMobil's chief executive. Mr. Tillerson and Mr. Trump disagree on a host of important policies, including climate change and Iran, and their differences in tone regarding Russia are striking. Such variances are an important reason that senior administration officials said on Thursday that the White House planned to replace Mr. Tillerson with Mike Pompeo, director of the Central Intelligence Agency, who is more closely aligned with Mr. Trump's nationalistic views. So far, however, Mr. Tillerson has shown no signs he is willing to leave quietly, all but daring the president to fire him. After his talks with Mr. Putin in November on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit meeting in Da Nang, Vietnam, Mr. Trump emphasized that he believed Mr. Putin was sincere in his denials of interference in the 2016 United States presidential elections, an assessment that was widely condemned. Mr. Trump later posted on Twitter, "When will all the haters and fools out there realize that having a good relationship with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing?" In Vienna, Mr. Tillerson did not mention election meddling, saying the two countries' differences over Crimea and Ukraine were the true sticking points. President Trump, as you know, throughout his campaign was very clear that he views it as very important that Russia and the United States have a better relationship, but the issue that stands in the way is Ukraine, Mr. Tillerson said at a news conference with the Austrian Foreign Minister, Sebastian Kurz.